Welcome to the Early Night Show with Anway Pramanik.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another early night episode of the Early Night Show with Anway Pramanik. Tonight we are going live with episode 14. And truth be told, I don't really have a script for tonight. I thought I'd just wing it based on what I'm feeling, what I'm reflecting on, and what revisions I'm already doing in my mind. I've realized something, that a lot of the books, content, movies, TV shows, music, art, a lot of it that's there isn't really very original anymore. I mean, it's great, it's amazing, it's fantastic, but it's usually the formula. Like how they say, right? There is a formula behind the song, there's a formula behind this TV show. I think the formula is quite repetitive in a majority of shows, songs, genres, pieces of fiction. I'm talking about pieces of fiction at the moment. Pieces of art and pieces of fiction. Like, if I open up a random TV show or a random book or a random something, I can predict exactly what the fuck's gonna happen. From a plot development and a plot mechanism and a plot armor point of view. It's quite important, easy for me to do that, I don't know why and how that's possible, but it just happens. And I think that immediately, takes me away from trying to explore or trying to, it's very boring. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, a lot of metal today sounds the same. Take three different bands, play them back to back, and you'll be like, wait, it's the same band. I mean, if you take a Gojira and you take a Tool, or you take a Meshuggah, and then you take a Catatonia, play them back to back, it's going to be very difficult to understand if it's the same band because they're so uniquely distinct sounds. But then you take something like Ginger, you take something like Between the Buried and Me, and you take something like maybe like a see, I'm not even able to think. Fuck, so annoying. Like, it's just the moment I play it, it just sounds like, wow, it sounds just like that band. It sounds just like this band. The moment I watch a TV show, I'm like, oh, they've shot it just like how they shot this one. Oh, the plot development is just like the plot development of that one. So it becomes very boring because I think that I love experiencing new things. Whatever it is, I like experiencing something that is completely new and fresh and off the charts. And while it may be inspired by 5-6 different things, it's not a replica of anything. It's very, very unique. Right? Like, if I have to tell you one artist that I've been exploring and I've been finding very intrinsically original is Jeremy Soule, the composer who's written all the Elder Scrolls songs. So, I'm in absolute love with him. Then, when it comes to books, I've been catching up on a lot of Dune, considering that Denis Villeneuve's movie is also coming out. So I've been trying to catch up with that, and it's completely original. The kind of everything in that is so original. Like, you will not think like, wow, this is like Game of Thrones, or wow, this is like Lord of the Rings, or wow, this is like that. It's so original. The name, it's the plot, the whole, what is that element, that sand thing, I forgot, fuck, that currency, dust, what dust was that, whatever, so original. But then you go and watch a majority of stuff on Netflix, it's like, oh, it's just like that, it's like yeah, I'm not saying that it's the same theme or the same plot or the same characters, but it's the plot development is so obviously repetitive that you know exactly that this is not for me, or I can predict it. And the moment it so happens that I can predict, oh, this person is actually the bad guy, or this one's gonna actually turn out to be the bad person, oh, it's so obvious, this is how it's gonna go, this person's gonna die now, this is gonna happen. The moment that happens, I don't want to watch it anymore. So it might sound very elitist, but I think it's just that if I have 2 hours in a week to watch something, I would want to use those 2 hours to watch something very, very original, very new, very unique, of its own type. Like, there can never be another Dragon Ball Z. There can never be another Steven Wilson. There can never be another Opeth. There can never ever be another Wim Hof. There can never be another Sasha Daygame. There can never be another Shakespeare. There can never ever be another Boris Brejcha. There can never be another Aragon. There can never be another Lord of the Rings. There can never be another Dark Souls. There can never be another Assassin's Creed. It's the lack of original concepts today that really kills me, and I look forward to any opportunity where I can come across a piece of content that's inspired by originality and it develops in its own original way. And one of those things, two of those, one is the Vagabond anime by Inoue, and the BERSERK anime by Miura. Right, like Shingeki no Kyojin, you have not seen anything like that before. Right, like Samurai Champloo, you've never seen anything like that before. This today's podcast is just going to be about manga and anime. BERSERK in particular, because I've just finished the 1997 anime. I finished the manga. I didn't like any of the movies because the 3D was just so horribly done. But coming to BERSERK, Vagabond is another story in and of itself. Miyamoto Musashi. But coming to BERSERK, it is probably one of the greatest pieces of literature I've read in my life, simply because of how it merges the whole death metal metaphysical aspect with the medieval Lord of the Rings, not Lord of the Rings, the medieval. I mean, it's two, three of my favorite things, right? It's 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 the subject of humanity explored from the medieval point of view with with an amazing amount of metaphysics and quantum. I wouldn't say quantum, but a lot of metaphysics that's involved in a lot of hermetic philosophy that's involved in it. And I can honestly tell you right now, till today, I've not read anything that comes close to blending the best of both. I mean, I've not come close to reading any manga that explores the concept of causality and things like that. I mean, maybe not even Psychopaths, to be honest. I didn't like Psychopaths that much, but can't really think of anything that explores that concept. And you have added to that the whole satanism, black, the black metal, the death metal gore side of it, and added to that you have that the whole medieval landscape. Three of my favorite things in one. I mean, you have the whole metaphysics, exploration of the human psyche, human development, personality change, how the psyche works, the ego, true representation of our consciousness, how humanity works, how evil works, the concept of purpose. I mean, God in the Berserk universe is known as the idea of evil. And the idea of evil was formed because they say that since time immemorial, since the time of creation, humanity has always looked for an external reason to blame for its downfall, demise, and sadness. It's never looked within. It's never said, could I be the reason for my sadness? It's always been like, sadness comes from outside. So from there, the idea of evil was created. And then you have these things known as beherits in the show, and I've never till today in my life come across anything like a beherit in any anime, manga, TV show. I mean, that Death Note book is probably the closest thing I can think of. Shadow of the Colossus, to an extent, is another closest thing I can think of that explores that metaphysics, astral plane projection thing, but nothing like the concept of beherit, where so the beherit is like, it's like an egg with a disfigured face of a man, and when it's activated, or when you pray for it to activate, and when you summon XYZ, this is going to be a spoilers full thing, so if you've not read Berserk, you should just jump off this right now. So it literally helps you summon the angels. In this, the angels are all evil. The idea of evil, like I told you, is God, and he has 4 angels. And when you are summoned by them, they bless you to become a demon. Like they bless you to take on your. It's like, I've always personally believed that all human beings are intrinsically evil. We're all evil. I mean, that's our natural behavior, to be evil. But it's because we are human that we learn how not to be evil and learn to be human with each other. But our base behavior is always going to be evil. And this kind of explores that, I mean, the way it explores it. So it says, when you become an apostle of these 4 angels, or the God hand, they bless you to take on the form that you most desire. Like if you've been someone who wants to be fat with like a donkey's dick and wings of a bat, that's exactly how you'll become. You'll become grotesque. But that's your true nature, your true form. Like a lot of the stuff that we are attracted to, the kinky stuff we are attracted to, is actually stuff that we are guilty and shameful about. It's a big psychology thing that you explore in Jungian psychology, the dark matter exploration, and that's exactly what Berserk explores. That's the psychology and metaphysics side of it. The psychology side of it, the human psychology side of it. Then you have the metaphysics coming in, where they say that when the astral world interacts with the human world or the physical world, how it does is through, it's like drop by drop. And every drop that forms and materializes itself into our plane is a Beherit. Right? So, I mean, it's amazing. I was just listening to that Beherit theme song before this podcast. So, you should just look it up. It's amazing. The concept is great. So, at your moment of greatest despair is when you use the Beherit to summon the God hand, and you sacrifice those things that are most dear and most precious to you. Could be your looks, your vanity, your love, your friendship, your skills, your humanity, or could be something external like your friends, your kingdom, your wealth, your family, your children, the orphanage that you work at. You'll have to sacrifice something to get something that's much greater. Now, once in every 226 years, what happens is that in the Berserk timeline, that this Beherit comes into this normal world, and it's a crimson Beherit that comes. And this crimson Beherit is the one who's blessed by this crimson Beherit is the one who eventually ends up becoming a member of this angel, the God Hand, one of the angels. So there are 4 angels. The timeline started 1,000 years ago. 226 times 4 is almost 1,000. So that's how they were created in that timeline. Now, another important thing is these Beherits are intertwined by destiny to the person they belong to. Like if I throw the Beherit out of my window, if I'm in a train, say in Rajasthan, and I'm traveling through Rajasthan, and I throw it out of my window, it'll fall into one of the rivers in Rajasthan, it'll go into the ocean, from the ocean it'll get eaten by a shark or a fish, and that fish will get eaten up by another fish, which will get picked up by a trawler in Bombay, which will get sent to the Licious factory in some city, and then that'll get chopped up into a fish. Then when I order Licious, that box is the one that will show up in my house. So that's how the Beherits work, right? It's predetermined by causality. Causality and entropy, 2 different sides. Causality is order in randomness, and entropy is randomness in order. I mean, when you put your earphones in your pocket and you pull them out and there's a knot, that's entropy. When you make something vibrate and you see the pattern in the vibration, that is causality. Berserk explores that. Now you tell me how many mangas explore things like this, how many TV shows, how many books, how many religions explore things like this. The second thing is that concept of humanity. So the Berserk is completely filled with murder, rape, violence, lot of it's extremely masochistic, the book. This storyline, I mean, you can imagine the medieval times, right? If you've seen Game of Thrones, men, women both suffered under the hands of men. So that makes you explore it from a human point of view, from a more base, primal point of view. So far, Berserk has been seeing it from a metaphysical point of view, right? Causality, universal interference in human thing. But then there's the whole human side of it. There is the religion, religious oppression, controlling the masses, how the masses are sheep at the end of the day, how aristocracy works, how religion in the Middle Ages played a big role, how humanity is evolved as humanity, how evil humanity can be, rape is one of the most horrendous acts in human society, but it is as horrendous an act as it is natural. I mean, even animals have been seen to commit grotesque kinds of rape, otters, in fact. So I'm not trying to justify rape, but what I'm trying to justify is that it is something that is associated with life. I mean, it is a destruction of life, right? Like, I mean, life is 99.999% sustenance, but is that 0.0001% destruction. It has to be there. I mean, it has to have that balance. So Berserk explores that in a messed up way. And it really, the idea of rape really stirs the human emotion in a strong way. I mean, you'll feel very strongly against it always. And also, I believe what it does is, it, when you see something like that in a comic book or in a manga, and you understand why it's happening, right? You truly try to understand, why such evil can exist in this world. I mean, this evil exists for a reason. It's not it's not something that just exists. It exists for a reason, right? Why is it that human beings are driven to do something like that with another human being? I mean, you can totally understand if it's like demonic trolls going to villages and kidnapping all the women and raping them for like 6 months. That's another concept of Berserk, of how we keep saying that humanity is evil and right now humanity is so fucked up. But I think we are in one of the most peaceful eras of humanity right now. I mean, I can interact with anyone from any country without having to worry about getting stabbed in the back or having to defend myself or stab them in the back. It was so fucked up back then. Oof, I love Berserk. I don't know why. Something about it is just so incredibly insane. I mean, the whole premise. And then finally, you have the two main enigmas, Guts and Griffith, the two main characters. Guts primarily so, but without Griffith, there can be no Guts, and without Guts, there can be no Griffith. So, Griffith is in the beginning the role model to Guts, but then Guts soon realizes that there's no bigger role model to yourself than yourself. And Griffith realizes that his entire self-image has been based on his ability to do things, and the moment he stops doing things, his self-image falls. That's how the whole revelation of Zod, right? Zod saying to Guts that the moment this man's ambitions break or fail is the day you will be condemned to an everlasting torture or whatever that was. Amazing, dude. I really love the manga and the anime, 97 anime. So I really recommend, if you're someone who's watching it or want to watch it, give it a try. It's amazing. I would recommend, if you have read comics and if you have read manga before, start with the manga. If you like watching anime, then watch the 1997 anime. Don't watch the 2016, 2014, 2019. Don't watch any of those. They're all garbage. So yeah, today I wanted to talk about this. I don't know, I didn't have a script, but I decided in the shower like 10 minutes before recording this podcast that I want to talk about Berserk today. It's great anime. One of the greatest mangas also, and I really hope Miura-san gets off his hermit like lifestyle and continues making this, because it's not over yet. Berserk started in 94 or 97 and it's still not over. And one of the main reasons that is because the amount of attention to detail and care that I think went into creating everything so far. It's like Breaking Bad, right? I mean, you need the time. You need, like Heath Ledger's Joker. You need the time and the investment to create something as magnificently amazing. Only then can you create something that's original. You cannot find it in anywhere else. And you set the tone going forward for everything else that has to follow. And I sincerely hope that my podcast, my early night show, is the same. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. It was great having you. I hope for fans of Berserk, I did justice to the story. Maybe gave you a few insights that you might yourself not have had as a Berserk fan. For non-fans of Berserk, I hope I've given you some intrigue into something new. I've not at all explored the plot of Berserk at all, so you can feel free to watch it. I mean, I've barely explored. It's like if I talk to you about Lord of the Rings, or before I talk to you about Lord of the Rings, if I speak about Eru Iluvatar, the Ainar, the Maiar, and I talk to you about the Silmarillion, I talk to you about Melkor's song, how Sauron came into being, and Manway's, the whole tribulations of Manway and what happened to the Numenorians. And then you watch Lord of the Rings, you'll be like, it makes no difference because what I gave you was an in-depth into the universe. Lord of the Rings is 2, 3, 4% of the universe. Same with Berserk. The plot that we see is probably 10% of the universe of Berserk. I spoke about the remaining 90 right now. So, thank you so much for joining me. It was great having you, like I said. I look forward to seeing you in episode 15. The moment we jump into episode 15, we will just have 10 more episodes left for this season. So that's going to be great. Today was probably one of the coldest nights, the coldest days in Bangalore. I mean, I froze to death today. And it's only September, mid-September, so I can't hope to see what winter is going to be like. If you are in Bangalore like me, it's the perfect weather to cuddle, to have your extra blankets out, to start wearing your track pants and your jeans and your hoodies and your pullovers. Ask your lady to move in with you. It's the perfect season. I'll move in with her. I think I'll do the same. Thank you for joining me. Anway Pramanik signing off for another episode of Anway Pramanik's Early Night Show. And for the first time ever, I'm gonna end this podcast with the Beherit theme song from Berserk. You could probably leave it on as well. It's a perfect theme song to go to sleep and end your night. I'm gonna play the entire 2 minutes 14 seconds. Enjoy the track. See you on the other side. See you in the land of dreams. Good night.